we're broadcasting this live on Facebook as well. So welcome everybody. Yes, we are live. We're live on Facebook. So welcome everybody who's on Facebook watching, and welcome everybody who's here tonight with us for this short webinar about kind of introduction to Tornelo. So yeah, just wanted to, I guess, give you some expectations in terms of what we're going to be covering. So if you have used Tornelo already before, much of this will be something which is maybe you're already aware of. It's something which is too easy for you. So we're not going to go into anything very detailed. We have just like 45 minutes to an hour to try and cover the basics of setting up a tournament, running a tournament, and using the platform. We'll try and have some time at the end for questions as well. So if you have some specific questions or you want me to go into more detail about one particular area, then of course I'll be happy to go into more detail about any particular area. But like I said, if you've been to a webinar like this before, if you've used Tornelo before, we'll be covering a lot of the same things again. We will have other webinars during the next few months. We have webinars kind of on a regular basis, so keep an eye on the website and you'll see we have advanced webinars, we have webinars about fair play, we have webinars about privacy and security. So there's a lot of different things. Eventually we'll try and do some e-board and hybrid tournament webinars as these become more popular. So we have a lot of things planned, but of course, just jump in on any of the sessions that you can. We will record these sessions as well, so we'll put them up on YouTube and we'll email you a link afterwards so that you can review the session afterwards, and we'll also give you a copy of any slides that we show. So yeah, this is what we're doing. So I'll just share my screen. We'll let the last few people who are joining into the session, and here we go. So yes, just a quick introduction about who we are and I guess why we're here. So Tornelo started in 2008 in Australia. I have in Australia a schools chess coaching business, and we were running programs at about 600 schools, and so we were running about 300 chess tournaments every single year through that business. And so with so many tournaments happening, I had a full-time staff member just to collect registrations and type them into Swiss Perfect, which was the pairings program that we used, just to process the administration of those events. So we decided we would invest in building our own software to manage the entry process, the pairings, and then also the other part which was missing for us at the time, which was ratings. So at the time there were no rapid play ratings, so we couldn't submit tournaments for ratings in Australia. And also from my own point of view, I was a little bit impatient. I didn't want to wait 3 months for the new ratings list to come out anyway, or even when they improve things and you have a ratings list every 1 month now. It's still too long between ratings for the kids in my opinion. So we wanted things to be immediate and instant, and so we built Tornelo. And so Tornelo is a portmanteau. It combines two words. It combines tournament and ELO. So the idea was that Tornelo would manage the three parts of a chess tournament. It would manage the registrations and entry process, and those names as they would come in online would end up straight in the pairings program. It would manage the actual pairings and management of the tournament on the day. You can just click pair next round and continue the pairings round by round for an over-the-board tournament. And then at the end of the tournament, it would immediately update everybody's rating and process for ratings. So that's what Tornelo was. It was tournament and ELO combined together. As I said, we started in 2008. We ran for about 4 years through to 2012, and then we put the project on hold. And from 2012 through to 2020, the platform existed. It ran. There was over 12,000 tournaments on the platform, all over the board tournaments submitted for ratings in mostly Australia, New Zealand, a little bit in India, a little bit in England, but mostly Australia and New Zealand. So in the start of 2020, COVID came to Australia and the rest of the world, sadly, and all of chess moved online. So I did the same as everybody else did the first week of COVID. I said, oh, well, let's go to one of the big platforms and let's see if we can run a tournament on a platform. The problem for me with those platforms was I couldn't find any justification for me to charge an entry fee for my players to play on one of those platforms, because it felt to me very similar to what they could get for free on those platforms. So I think what my feeling was that the major platforms are really fantastic on-demand chess platforms. It's the best thing in the world. It's the best thing that's happened to chess, in 1,000 years since they invented the Sicilian defense, where they created platforms where you can just go and play an on-demand game of chess day or night, free of charge, against a really opponent at your own level. It's amazing, all right? And what it's done for chess is fantastic, but it's totally different from a scheduled tournament. And so when I saw that the tournaments that we wanted to run were the equivalent of an over-the-board tournament, we had this pairings program and tournament management system, Tornelo. We decided we would add to Tornelo an online games portal, so you could actually play your games online, and we could now manage all the stages of an online tournament as well. And so we are now a platform that is specifically purpose-built for organisers and arbiters, people who want to run scheduled arbiter-led tournaments. Not on-demand chess, not just one game at a time against a random opponent, but scheduled on-demand tournaments as close as possible to over-the-board tournaments. And in fact, Tornelo is a pairings program, and we can run over-the-board tournaments. And as I said, we've run 12,000 of those on the platform, through the last 10 years before COVID. And I'm sure that we'll have another 12,000 in the next couple of years as people go back to over-the-board tournaments once the COVID situation is under control around the world. So we're 100% web-based. We're entirely on the cloud. So there's no downloads, there's no installations. You can be done from any internet-connected device. You can be on a laptop, an iPad, any other tablet, your phone. In fact, I've run chess tournaments where there's no power. I've run over-the-board chess tournaments using my phone when my laptop's broken. It's possible to do all of those things because it's all entirely online. Tornelo is free to use. We don't charge a fee for usage. We charge a fee when arbiters and tournament organisers make money. So we charge a transaction fee when you collect an entry fee into your tournament. We get a transaction fee from that. And so in the end of the day, we are partners with tournament organisers. We're not trying to collect names and registrations and build our own database of players that we can charge a subscription or membership fee to. We only ever succeed when our tournament organisers and arbiters succeed. So if you can run more tournaments, if you can charge bigger entry fees, if you can get more players in your tournaments, we all win. And so that's our goal, is to help people run better chess tournaments and get more people playing chess more often. So we kind of got noticed in about August of 2020, so less than a year ago, by the European Chess Union. And all my hat off and big thanks to the people in the European Union who saw and could recognize the difference between a platform for on-demand chess and a platform for scheduled arbiter-led tournaments. And they saw the potential, even though when we first showed the ECU what we could do, I don't even think you could offer a draw to opponents at the time. Right, we were that new. There was no offer draw button, but the ECU selected us as the platform to host the European Youth Championships, which was 750 players in a hybrid style tournament. and that ran in September of 2020. That ran without a hitch. We were able to manage the server load of 750 people concurrently in an online tournament. We were able to manage the fair play aspects of things with thanks to a team of arbiters and supervisors. And after that event took place, everybody in the world started to notice. And so we now have the World Chess Federation. Obviously, FIDE runs their number of world championship events on Tornelo. We've got continental associations. We've got national federations. We've got state and local associations. We've got clubs. We've got individual organisers. We've got coaches, and we've got something like 10 organisations signing up on Tornelo every single day. And we're now well over 120 countries represented on the platform. We've got 4 of the zonal competitions running on Tornelo. So the Asian zonal, which Hamid, you were just speaking about, the European qualifier for the World Cup, the Americas or South America, and the African. So four of the zonal competitions have chosen Tornelo to run, and you can see here a list of a number of other tournaments that have chosen Tornelo as their platform of choice. We've been extremely stable, reliable. We can manage up to 1,000 players in any single section or division. And we've got a bunch of exciting features, which I'll show you some of those during the course of this. The best way to understand Tornelo is to look at Tornelo from 3 different perspectives, because these are our 3 different users. So we've got players who come on and they have to play their games. We've got arbiters who manage the tournament, and then we've got organisers or organisations, people who run a chess federation, a club. They own some sort of logo, and so an organisation is the owner of all tournaments on Tornelo. So what I'm going to do is go through this this now kind of practical stuff. I'm going to show you Tornelo from a few different perspectives, so that you can get to see how Tornelo works from a number of different angles. All right, so to start off with, let's just throw up a website. And so this is the path that players would take in order to start by to join a tournament. And so I'll show you the players view, and then I'll show you what goes on in the background as well. So here we've got the Tornelo homepage, and just a couple of things for you guys to be aware of. Obviously, here's our webinars, and so you'll see all of the webinars that are upcoming. We've got arbiter certification courses coming soon, and all of the free webinars that we're running in various different topics. The best place for you to start is where it says Start Here. When you click that, you will get all of our videos, webinars, tournament documentation, manuals, everything that you could need in order to get started. The best part about this page is all of these templates at the bottom. So we have templates that will help you to run, whether that's an online or an over-the-board tournament, templates for regulations, templates for presentation ceremonies, templates for fair play rules and regulations, templates for all the sorts of things that you would need to create when you're going to run a tournament. And so you can just download those templates, edit them with your own details, and you're ready to run a tournament in next to no time. So highly recommend you going here, downloading a bunch of different things, user manuals, look at the videos, and then check out some of these different templates that we have as well. All right, so for a player will first sign in. So if they've got an account on Tornelo, they would just enter their email address, webinar@chess.com.au, and put their email address in, and off they go. They're signed into Tornelo. Okay. So you can browse around Tornelo, They can see different tournaments that are in progress or upcoming. They can browse through the organizations. As I said before, an organization is a club or a federation or somebody that owns and runs tournaments. And you can dig in there and you can see all the other tournaments all the tournaments, both past, current, and in future tournaments that are running. So you can go through those things. Generally, when a tournament organizer is asking somebody to register for a tournament, they will give a direct link to the tournament somewhere from their website. So there'll be some advertising that you've got on your website, or you've emailed players and you say, hey, go to this tournament link and register for the tournament. So when the player comes to the tournament, here's our tournament. You'll see a blue button at the top of the page, which says enter now. And our goal with Tornelo is to have a single page for everything that everybody does. Okay, so this URL here, this website, that one link should be for everything that happens. So that's where they go to register for the tournament. It's where they go to play their game. It's where they go to play their next game. It's where they go to see the results. It's where they go to download PGN files at the end of the tournament. It's where they go to, or where the arbiters go to do the pairings. It's where the arbiters can go to look at fair play analysis. Everything that you need to do from registration all the way through to submitting tournament for ratings is just on one link. It's on one URL. Okay, so we'll just go through the process of entering this tournament. So we'll enter the tournament. I'll add a player profile. Okay, Jimmy Cricket. I'll step through the process. I can choose a division. So I've got 2 sections in my tournament. Let's make it a bit bigger for people. So I've got 2 sections. I'll go in the Jedi section. I've got registration fees, and this is a teams tournament. So I'm going to play for Team Brazil today. I can put in a rating if I need to put in a rating, year of birth, any other questions that we need to answer for the registration process. Tornelo always asks players for contact details. Okay, you need to know, as an organizer, as an arbiter, you need to know the player's phone number, the player's email address. How are you going to get in contact with those players when you need to communicate with them, either during the tournament or after the tournament, because you as an organizer want to try and build a community of players who are playing chess on a regular basis. And so you want to build your database. Okay, so these contact details are stored by Tornelo, but they belong to the organizer. Right? So we don't send emails to your players. We don't ring up your players and sell them any sponsorship or anything like that. We collect those details so that you can download them and you can build your database and build your mailing list of people who are playing in your tournaments. Okay, the final step here, we confirm all of our details. I can see what it's like, and I can add my credit card details in if I want to, in order to pay. Okay, so I'll just pay later in this case and confirm my registration for the tournament. So the entry is placed successfully. When I come to the tournament page now, I've got my divisions on the side here. I can see the standings, and these are all the other players who are in my tournament. Okay, so registrations go on in the days or weeks before your event, and then the day of the event comes. And I'll return back to the same page, the same URL that I came to register to join the tournament. I can also find that same page on my dashboard where it tells me I've got an event that's been entered. It's right here, and I can click through from this direction. I can go from my events, and that will show me the events that I've entered. It'll show me a link here. If I haven't paid my entry fee, this blue dot here is giving me a reminder that I haven't paid my entry fee for this tournament. So it's a good way of chasing up money and making sure everybody pays their entry fees. Anyway, whichever direction I go from to get into the tournament, whether it's from my dashboard, from my events page, or a direct link, on the day of the tournament, I show up at the tournament, and the first thing that you as an arbiter want to know is who's actually present. Right? It's the first thing you do in an over-the-board tournament, right? You get to the tournament hall, everybody walks in, and you do a roll call. You need to know who's there so that you can do the pairings with only the people who are there, right? You probably not going to put somebody in the pairings, even if they've paid an entry fee, if they're not there at the time of the roll call. So we have a roll call process. You can see here actually that here are all the other players who've participated in the roll call. You've got the green check mark to say they're ready. And as a player, the first thing I have to do is make this into a happy face. So I just tick the box here. I say that I'm ready. I get my happy face. And you'll see here that Jiminy Cricket has got a green check mark next to his name. Right? Now, everybody gets to see this. The players, the arbiters, everybody gets to see this. So you know as the arbiter that everybody is signed in, everybody's ready to go. Right? You'll also have more information than just the fact that they've ticked the box and they've checked in. You've got these dots next to the player name. Okay, so a green dot means that I'm active in the tournament lobby right now. So I'm on this page and I've got a connection to I've got an internet connection. Right? It even gives you a timestamp just now. And you can see these players haven't signed in for 6 days, an hour, 23 hours. So different people have signed in at different times, and you'll see their timestamps there. So this is pretty handy if you're an arbiter. You're like, oh, well, how come Mace Windu hasn't been here for 6 hours? Well, he's maybe not going to show up, but at least you know that he can sign in. Right? He does have the ability to play a game. Okay, so we've signed in. We've got our name checked off, and then the arbiter does the pairings for the first round. Okay, am I going to get a buy? Yep, got myself a buy. Oh, let's do that. Let's try that again and give myself a non-buy. So I'm just going to delete those pairings for the first round. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players. There we go. Now I can do the pairings for the first round and not give myself a buy. Okay, so doing the pairings, it now shows up here. I'm on board 3, Skywalker against Cricket here. So, and it gives me a button that says play now. So as the player, all I have to do is look at this message bar at the top of the page and follow the instructions. There's usually a big blue button that tells you what to do. Play now. Okay, I'll click that button, play now. We've got this set to ask a question before everybody starts, just confirming their honesty. And there are some processes through by which you try to make the environment more conducive to fair play, and we'll talk about that a little later on. So this just asks them, are you going to be an honest player? And there's some behavioral psychology that suggests that by making some sort of declaration before you start the tournament that you're going to play fairly, you're more likely to do the right thing. Okay, so we have here our chessboard. It's popped up. You can see it says starting soon. I'm waiting for my opponent to join. So I'm disconnected. I'm connected, sorry. We've got my green icon here. I'm connected, but I'm waiting for Anakin Skywalker. Okay, there we go. Anakin Skywalker is just connected. His icon has gone green, and now we're able to play the game. Okay, if I don't like the color of the chessboard or the layout of the pieces, I've got my game preferences here. I can say, actually, I like Paulson pieces better, and I like the color forest. That's a much better color for me today. All right, so I can change the color of my pieces. And now we simply wait for the opponent to make a move. And there we go. The game has begun. And so this now works the same as any other chess platform. You click on a piece, you click the square you want to move it to. All right, I've got move confirmation set. So there we go. It's confirming my move, so I can make sure I don't do any mouse slips. But for the sake of this one, I'm going to turn off move confirmation. All right, and I can now make a pre-move if I wanted to. So we've got pre-moves there. And I'll use 0 time on my pre-moves. So you can see it cost me 0 time. Okay, I can offer a draw. I can resign the game. We'll talk about connecting e-boards another time. So these are the sorts of things, just a normal game. Okay, so anything that can happen in a normal online game. All right, if I shrink the board back to a normal size, or if I scroll down, the different thing about Tornelo that you can't do on other platforms is if I've got a problem, I can click this button here and call the arbiter. So by calling the arbiter, that pauses my clock, and the arbiter will get a message, and it will say, okay, what can I do? I need a toilet break. All right, and so the arbiter can come and communicate with me in this chat. Oh, it's not allowed, oh, I better play on, continue with my game. So you've got the ability to chat to arbiters during the course of the game. If you need to, just the same as you would an over the board tournament. You put your hand up, by calling the arbiter will continue the game when they're ready, and when the game continues, we can play on. Okay, so just wait for my arbiter to resume the game. Oh, she's forgotten me. That's all right. I was going to accept this draw anyway. So there you go. I'm going to accept the draw. So there we go. We've accepted the draw. Game's over. We'll go back to round one. You'll see the results are automatically in the pairings. If I wanted to watch some other players playing their games, I can click on any board and I can watch those games. They're all live. All right. So what I see as a player, this is what everybody in the world sees. All right. So if you want spectators to come and join your tournament, you can have spectators, and the spectators can see exactly this. All right. So some people broadcast their games onto Chess24 or Chess Bomb or something like that. Certainly it's a possibility, but you don't have to. People can just come and they can spectate the games from here. All right. They'll see everything that's going on from the tournament lobby. They can see the round by round. You can see everything that's happening. All right. So that's kind of the basics for a player. Come in, play a game, wait for the next round to start. When the next round starts, you'll just get a message up here. If I have a buy, there you go. I always give myself a buy. If I could change the pairings, I'll just quickly change the pairings. And I'll give myself not a buy, and it will update the pairing. So I've just made a change. So now I'm playing black against Luke here, and it's given me again the play now button at the top. So round number 2, click the play now button. I'm in my game, wait for my opponent to connect, and then off we go. Okay. All right. So once your tournament has finished, and you come back to the site later on, you'll end up eventually with a player profile. Okay, so a player profile is a history of all the tournaments that you've played on Tornelo over time. So you can see this is my son who started playing tournaments on Tornelo back in 2011, and he's played however many 100 tournaments, over the board tournaments, most of them, and as well as recently online tournaments. So we can scroll through and we can see all of the tournaments that he's played in. We can dig into a particular tournament, and then you can see the standings with the results. You can see the round by round pairings. You can see the games. You can download PGN files. You can do everything that you need to do from, or that you would expect to be able to do on a tournament. And so this acts then as a bit of an archive for all of the tournaments and tournament results over time. So you don't need to upload anything or copy and paste or anything like that. Just all of the tournament results straight away on there for the players to look at. Okay, so let's now have a look behind the scenes and what was going on in that Skywalker tournament. Okay, so here we have the tournament lobby from a arbiter's perspective. Okay, oops. I'll go back as an arbiter. There we go. All right, so as an arbiter, we've got those rounds that we saw before. We've got the results, we've got the pairings, we've got everything, the same sort of view as the players saw. Right? But the arbiters have got an extra button, which is called the pairings program. So I'm just going to open the pairings program and give you a quick understanding of why we have a pairings program as well as a tournament lobby. In 2008, we built Tornelo as an online pairings program. In 2020, we added the online games in a more modern technology. So this pairings program was built in technology that was modern and new in 2008. Maybe it was even 10 years ahead of its time back then, but that still means that it's 4 years old now. In the world of the web, that's just a very, very old technology. So we are slowly replacing the pairings program bit by bit, piece by piece. We're taking the pairings program apart and we're moving all of the features into the tournament lobby. So what you'll see in the next few months is that the pairings program disappears and arbiters will have all of the functionality in the lobby, the same as what you have at the moment in the pairings program. So for the time being, arbiters, you'll need to keep 2 tabs open, one for the pairings program, one for the tournament lobby, so that you need to take actions in the pairings program and then see the live results in the tournament lobby. So what you'll see is in the pairings program, if you want the results to come into the pairings program, you need to reload the pairings program. Okay, so it's not live in the same way that lobby's live, where as soon as a result finishes, it's pushed into the lobby straight away and it updates by itself. In the pairings program, it's old technology, so it's static, and you have to wait to click reload before you get the information, right? And you can see why we're trying to get rid of that and move it all into the tournament lobby, so everything updates automatically as you go. All right, so we've got here our player list. This kind of doubles up as a bit of a cross table as well, so you can see the round by round cross table. You can even change results from here as well if you need to. We've then got the pairings, round 1, round 2, and we've got our standings. In this case, we've got some team scores and then individual scores. So our pairings, firstly, the first thing I did was edited some pairings. So you can edit pairings with these little pencil icons next to each name. So if I want to move Jar Jar Binks up to board 1, I'll click this one here. I'll put Jar Jar's name in, and then that will change the pairings, cancels the game that the previous players were playing, and reallocates a pairing and game for this one. I've got some unpaired players. I can add them to a pairing. So I'm going to give Darth white against Boba. All right. Now we've got a game set up for these guys. All right. So as you do that, you can see the message creating online games. So it's ready for these players to play their games. All right. I can delete rounds. So I can delete a round. I can go back a step. I can delete another round and go all the way back to the start of the tournament if I want to. All right. So anything that you can do in a normal pairings program, you should be able to do in Tornelo as well. All right, so I'm going to start the tournament again. You can see this is the roll call. These were the green check marks that were in the lobby, all the people who've signed in. I've got some players here who are withdrawn, so I can unwithdraw players if I want them to get involved. I can mark people present myself if I need to do a roll. As an arbiter, I've got full control over everything that's going on in this tournament. Okay. There are 3 I guess kind of status for a round. So actually, let's just put some results in for round number 1. I can put some results in here manually as well if I want to. Or if I want to, I can even put in some custom results. I click on the ... I can make a win and a draw for Yoda because he got a hard deal. So I'm going to give him a draw for that. So you can put any results you want: win, draw, loss, forfeit results, whatever you like. So you've got that customization. So in the next round, I'm again pretending this is like an over the board tournament. And an over the board tournament, the first step that you would do, you wouldn't just pair the round and everyone just sits down and plays their game. You might do a draft pairing. So I'm going to click down there, draft pairings here, and do the pairings, the draft pairings here. So these draft pairings are now not visible in the tournament lobby. So the players can't see anything about the draft pairings. It'll just show them a message saying the next round's coming soon. All right, so you can then take your time to rig the pairings, do whatever you need to do. You want to make sure that Master Yoda gets an easy game. So you can go and play around with the pairings as much as you like. And when you're ready, then you click publish. So when the pairings are published, that's like you put them up on the wall in a tournament hall. You put them up on the wall, but the players are not allowed to start their games. So we go into the lobby here. The players will see all of their opponents. They can see who they're playing. If I go back to this, you can see all my opponents. It just tells me that I can't start my game. It's coming soon, and I've just got to wait. I can see the round, but I can't actually start my game. I can even go into my game if I want to. It's like, oh, I can see my game. Even if they connected, I wouldn't be able to start my game because the round is only published. It's not live yet. And then when you're ready to go, as the arbiter, you say, okay, now I want the tournament to be live. And as soon as the tournament's live, then in the player will see the play now button. When the opponent comes, you can start the game. Okay, so you've got the ability to kind of control when the games start. So back here in the lobby, round 2, I can see that they've all been paired. Now, when a player joins a game, right, so let's say that Jiminy Cricket joins his game, can you see that little green icon? Let's make it a bit bigger for people. There's a little green icon next to the player's name. So that's a connection status. So you can see when people are connected. So if Master Yoda joins the game, I'll be able to see that both players have connected to their game. Right? Okay, there you go. Jar Jar Binks has joined. He's green there. So as an arbiter, I've got an overview of, firstly, who's actually live, active in the tournament lobby. I've now got a view of who's actually live and connected to each game. So there you go. Jar Jar Binks is connected, and now Master Yoda is connected. He's got a green icon as well. When the game starts, all right, the clocks start ticking. Okay, I can see that one move has been made. All right. Another move's been made, there you go. Now 2 moves have been made. Maybe a 3rd move will even get made, who knows? All right. So I can now get an overview. I can see when players are in time trouble, so I can dig in and go and watch that game that's in time trouble a little bit more closely, just as you would in an over-the-board tournament. All right, we've got a few players who haven't started their games yet. So I can either go into the game individually and I can say, well, okay, I know you're waiting for Padme to show up. She'll be here in a second. And I'll click the start clock button and start the opponent's clock ticking. Or I can go back to round here and I can say, well, I want to start all the clocks. Okay, and then you start all the clocks at the same time. And that would start all of White's clocks. Okay, so I've got control over when the game starts, who people are playing against. And then if I want to, I can go into the game and I've got controls over the game itself. All right, so here's our Arbiter chat section over on the side. So if a player calls the Arbiter, okay, this is where my message is. Messages are coming in. All right, he wants to take back his last move. Okay, let's try and understand, why do you want to take back your move? Okay, and have a bit of a conversation about why. Okay, wanted to play c5 instead of c6. Okay, I believe him. I think that's fair. He was trying to play c5. I'm going to just undo the last move and I'll let him continue from here. So I'll resume the game and now my opponent, the game can continue on. Okay, so Arbiter can do, you've got control over whatever you like to do. Okay, maybe I want to pause the game and somebody asks an annoying question and I decide that, okay, what I'd like to do is now give you a 2-minute penalty. So I'll just click adjust the clocks and Black's going to have 2 minutes. Actually, White annoyed me too, so I'm going to give them a penalty too. And we've now just adjusted the clocks. So you can adjust the clocks just by clicking that button there and then resume the game. The player's clock starts ticking again. Perhaps the players, claim a 3-fold repetition and you say, yes, that's a 3-fold repetition. I'll declare that game a draw. So we declare the draw. So this is all your controls over the games. Okay, so you've got control over the pairings from the pairings program, reload the page to get the results to come into the pairings program. So there the result is now in the pairings program with a reload. You've got a control over when the games start. You've got control over what happens in the games. And you've got control over the clocks as well. Okay, let's now move on to some of the other features when you're setting up a tournament. So how do you create a tournament? So in order to create a tournament, the tournament has to be owned by an entity. Okay, so that entity is what we call an organization. And we saw that on the home page here, that we've got all these different organizations. Okay, an organization is a club, federation, whatever you like. So we're going to create a new organization. This organization is going to be called Webinar 2.0. Okay, so we've got a URL for our organization and we've got a nice color. I think that's a pretty good color over here. So I could put my logo as well if I had a logo. So we've created an organization. The organization now can create tournaments. Okay, so I'm going to create my first tournament for this organization. Okay, go to our new view. All right, so in this, okay, so this is webinar. Okay, so in this, when you're creating a tournament, we'll go you through some of the functionality of tournament setup. So we've got tournament name, webinar test event. We've got a location. Now, even if you're playing an online tournament, you still have a location. Okay, this one's in Serbia. Okay, you've got a location because you need a time zone. Right, so your location dictates your time zone. We've got some start and finish dates and times. Those are for display purposes only. So in Tornelo, you're always starting the games when you click start now. Okay, you're not starting games at a designated time. The arbiter's got full control over everything. We've got an event summary or homepage, like we saw here, this event summary here. You can put pictures and images and fun stuff like that. So we can put some of this information on the homepage if we want to. We can choose to play online games or not have online games. We can have teams or not. We can have multiple divisions. So we're going to create an under 2000 division. And we're going to have under 1200 division. Okay, so you can have multiple divisions, different number of rounds in each, whatever you like. These are the game rules. This is the controls that you have over the game in Tornelo. Standard chess, we got some variants just for a bit of fun. Take me chess or anything goes. Anything goes, there's just no rules. It's kind of handy if you're a coach. You can just set up a tournament where you can make any move. There's no rules. There's no checks. Bishops don't have to move diagonally. Any piece can just move anywhere to anywhere. So it's useful as a coach. If you wanted to play 960, you just put a new start position in, and you can set up any position. All the games will start from that position. And then you've got some controls over whether the players can cancel calls that they've made for the arbiter. So they put their hand up, and can they put their hand down? Do they have to declare their honesty with that confirm honesty box that we saw before? Are you going to allow pre-moves in your tournament? Some arbiters prefer not to have pre-moves. Some say, yes, we can have pre-moves. Do you want Sophia rules? Do you want your players to have to wait 10 moves before they offer a draw, or 30 moves before they offer a draw? What about threefold repetition? What about 50 move draw? So when we first created Tornelo, the FIDE rules were that you had to have a fivefold repetition to automatically intervene, for an arbiter to intervene. And then they've changed it now, and so you can allow an automatic intervention by a platform after 3 moves. But if you're playing an over-the-board tournament and you wanted to make it more similar to an over-the-board tournament, you would have fivefold repetition rather than 3. Okay, so that's all of the game settings. Clocks. You can set your time control in number of seconds plus an increment. So 5 seconds plus 2 seconds, 5 minutes plus 2 seconds a move. Or you can have multi-period game clocks. So you could have 40 moves in 90 minutes plus, an extra, 3 minutes, and we continue that increment at 2 seconds a move. So you can set multiple periods of time controls. You can do standard FIDE time controls, 40 moves in 90 minutes plus 30 to finish, with 30-second increment the whole way through. And so you just add some extra time to the game and continue from there. Okay, so that's your clock settings. When you're a player, so remember the player on the page, they've got this nice big green button at the top that says Open Zoom Room. So obviously part of most online tournaments, there's some form of supervision. Even if there's no supervision going on in Zoom, you still want to communicate with your players. All right, and the best way to communicate with your players is through some sort of video conference. So what you do is you add your video conference link into this box here. All right, when you put that video conference link in, all it does is just that link hides behind this button. When a player clicks on that button, it takes them to your Zoom meeting. Okay, so then that provides an easy, simple way for the players. They just have to go to one page. You're not sending them to a form online to register and then a Zoom meeting link here and go to this page for the games and wait for a challenge there. And when you finish the results, go to this other website here and look at the chess results. Everything's just on one URL. Registrations, playing the games, joining your Zoom meeting, everything else that you need. We have this second call to action or second button. So you can see here, I've just got the Skywalker homepage, and that will link me to, to a web page. So you could put that as a sponsors link. You could put that as a promotion for your next event. You can put it as a link to a second Zoom meeting if you want to have a second Zoom meeting for kibitzing and coaching or something like that afterwards. Whatever you want, you just make a second Zoom meeting and you put your link in there. Tornelo has some sophisticated privacy controls. We've got a whole webinar about privacy if you're interested in that in a couple of weeks' time. The most important kind of policy for Tornelo is that we have players who are using their real names. So, okay, in my tournament here, all of these people are using their real names. Right? These are not, usernames or pseudonyms. We know that these are real names of real people. And we have coming soon a verification process. So you'll actually be able to see little green checks next to each person's name so that you know that they have been verified as being a genuine person by another arbiter somewhere in the system, okay? Some sort of qualified arbiter. So we want people to use their real names, but if you're using your real name, there are people who are vulnerable individuals. There are maybe children, parents who are concerned about their child's details being online. Maybe you're running a tournament for a company and the company doesn't want their staff list being published. So you have the ability to set different levels of privacy for your tournament. And also every individual player also has the ability to set their privacy controls for themselves. So there's those two settings which interact with one another, and it makes you fully compliant with GDPR. It makes you fully compliant with any US privacy regulations or Australian privacy regulations, where you have to have the ability for players to keep their private information private, right? And you can't, you shouldn't be requiring people to share their private information if they don't want to. So your tournament itself can be either a public tournament, which means anybody can see it, including Google. It can be a community tournament, which gives you a level of protection. So Google can't see it. It's not searchable when you type something into Google, but anybody who's signed into Tornelo can search for it and can see it and can find it. Or you can make a private tournament completely private. So a completely private tournament makes a URL, which is a password. And so you can only find that tournament if you share the link with somebody. Okay, of course, that the person you shared it with could share it with somebody else, just as they could share a password with somebody else. But you know that it's within your control. Okay, and so only people within your organization, the people that you shared it with, will have that link. So you've got those three options for your tournament. And then, as I said, every player has also got their own individual privacy controls. Okay. And then our final setting is for online entries. Okay, so we highly recommend that all tournaments, even if you're not collecting a registration fee, all tournaments should use online entries, and you should get players to self-register for your tournaments. Okay, by self-registering, the players are giving you permission to view and edit their personal data. By self-registering, you know that those people have got an account that works on Tornelo and an account that's set up and is using a correct email address and all the rest of it. And so you have far fewer problems when people are self-registering for your tournaments. Okay, you've got some controls over that. You can put a maximum number of players in the tournament. You can let people choose their own divisions, or you can force people all into the first division if you turn that off and then not let them go into other divisions. You can allow or disallow late entries. Once the tournament starts, do you still want people to register? And you can also collect registration fees. You could have multiple different fees. You have a $10 fee for somebody and a $20 fee for other people. So you've got the ability to set registration fees. At the moment, the only way that you can collect a registration fee is through credit cards using a Stripe account. So Stripe is a credit card payment gateway. If you don't have a Stripe account, you can create one. It's free and easy. But I am aware that Stripe isn't available in every single country in the world. So a lot of countries can't collect payments at the moment. We are shortly going to be integrating with PayPal, which will make life easier because almost everybody has PayPal. And so you'll then be able to collect entry fees into your PayPal account. Now, remember, the only time that Tornelo charges you a fee is if you are collecting a registration fee. We will also charge a small transaction fee. Okay, so we take a few percent, and that's where we make our money as well. Okay, so that's the registration process, all done. We click create tournament, and the tournament's now created, set up, ready to go. Okay, players can now enter this tournament. There's all your details. Here's your divisions down the side. Okay, so that's the process of creating your tournament. There are lots of other ways to manage tournaments. So you can import and export all sorts of data into Tornelo. So you can import player lists. For example, you can import a CSV file with all of the entries for your tournament. If you wanted to collect registrations in a different way, be aware that if you collect registrations as a CSV file, if you're importing those registrations, the players haven't given you permission. So if they're already on Tornelo, you won't be able to edit some of their private information. If they are not on Tornelo, then when you import them, it will automatically create their accounts and invite them to set up their accounts and send them emails with their details. So importing CSV is certainly a possibility. Tornelo out of the box doesn't do team pairings for Olympiad style tournaments. So if you wanted to play a leagues tournament or an Olympiad, board 1 against board 1, 2 against 2, 3 against 3, you probably have another 3 or 4 months to wait before Tornelo does that just with a click of a button. Until then, you'll do the pairings in some other pairings program, and you can import a blank PGN file that will set up the pairings for you in the tournament. So you can import pairings into a tournament as well. So that's your import options, player lists, and PGN files. You can actually import a full tournament if you wanted to. You can use a TRF file, and you can import a full tournament, and you can start using Tornelo as an archive system for all of your tournaments. You can import the TRF, you can import the PGN files, and then you'll have your whole tournament structure and all your games. Okay, exporting, you can export a PGN file. Okay, PGN file, you can choose divisions or an individual player or whatever you like. You've also got the ability to broadcast on Chess24 or Chess Bomb or any other chess broadcast platform. So that generates a live PGN file. You can also export your entries. So that will give you your, okay, if I show you on the other one here that's got some entries, if I export my entries, that will give me all of the email addresses, contact phone numbers, player details that the players have given me, all in just one Excel spreadsheet. All right, so that's my entries list downloaded as well. Okay, so I can export entries, or I can export a full TRF file, which is the FIDE tournament results format, and you can use that to then upload into a different pairings program if you wanted to have it in a different pairings program for some reason. So you've got all of your import export options here. I just want to give you a 5-minute glance at fair play. So in Tornelo, there are 3 things that we recommend to ensure fair play in your tournaments. And it's important that we understand that Tornelo and in general, what we're recommending is that people don't try and go out to catch cheaters. All right, catching a cheater is going to put you in the wrong direction. It's going to take you backwards instead of forwards. What you should be trying to do is build a community of players who trust one another and a community of players who will play fairly. Right now, once you've got a community of trusting players, then you won't have any problems because they'll be self-policing. All right, the players in the tournament will push away people who are doing the wrong thing. Once you build a culture of cheating, then it's very hard to get out of that habit. Okay, because people are inspiring each other to cheat in the tournaments. So there are 3 things that you need to do to make sure that there's fair play. The first is build an environment which is conducive to fair play. Right, 90% or 95% of people who cheat in the tournaments are not doing it for any malicious reasons. They're not trying to be evil. They're not evil people. They just find that it's easier to cheat than not to cheat. It's just a question of temptation. It's impulse control problem. Right? You'll see a lot of players who are cheating, those younger, teenage and young adults. who have typically in their lives got impulse control problems, right? And this is what youth and teenage years is all about. It's about making mistakes and learning how to delay gratification and I guess to mature. So we need to make an environment that is conducive to fair play. It's not very fair to the players to make it really, really, really easy to cheat and then tell them off when they do. It's like putting a bowl of candy in front of a 3-year-old and telling him off when he takes a piece of candy and eats it. All right? Set up the environment to make it conducive to fair play, and you're much more likely to get the result that you're looking for. So some of the things that we do to make an environment conducive to fair play, we make sure that, number one, you're using players' real names. Number two, you've got a visible authority figure. You've got an arbiter who's there. You've got an arbiter button on the game so that it's easy for people to see that there are arbiters around, right? And that works the same way as having, if you go into a shopping mall, they have a security guard at the front gate, right? The security guard is not there to catch the shoplifters. The security guard is there to remind you that authority exists in the world, and that what that does is that puts this in the psychology in your head. Oh, there's people around, there's people supervising, I should do the right thing. And you reduce shoplifting massively just by having somebody standing out the front, not walking up and down every aisle, following every person, checking all their pockets, just standing at the front, just being a visible authority figure makes a huge difference. You'll have repeat interactions with the same players. They know each other, they get to know each other. They feel like they're not anonymous anymore, but they're actually real people. And the more you can get people into Zoom and seeing each other's faces, the better in that as well, that then nobody's anonymous anymore, they're a community. Okay, so you've got environment which is conducive to fair play. People are less likely to cheat, but that's not enough. You need to do some supervision, and supervision will vary tournament to tournament, depending on the level of tournament that you've got. If it's just a local club event with half a dozen people or a dozen people who will know each other, you may not need to do any supervision at all. Right? You have people in Zoom to have a bit of a way of communicating with the players, but you may not need to do any supervision at all. For other tournaments, you'll have 2 cameras, screen share, microphones, you'll have lots of supervision, right? Most tournaments, midway is about right. So have them where they've got the ability to be observed or supervised on camera in Zoom, or they can share their screen so you can see what's happening on their screen. The fact that they're being supervised, again, reduces the likelihood that they're going to be getting assistance. So you do a bit of supervision, whatever's right for your tournament. Still, you want to be sure that you've done, that everything that you've done has worked, right? And so we go through a verification process at the end of the tournament. Okay, and so verification is basically checking, is everything that you did to make a fair play tournament working? And if it is, success, right? Of course, sometimes you fail. So what we've got in Tornelo is a fair play report. So we produce that fair play report round by round. So I'll just show you a live version of the tournament. So here's our tournament, round by round pairings. And every single round, immediately after the games are finished, analysis is done on the games and you get this fair play report generated. The fair play report doesn't tell you who cheated and who didn't cheat. Okay, there's no such thing. What this fair play report will tell you is which players, that is the players at the top, are most like a computer and which players at the bottom are least like a computer. So it just ranks all your players in order, top to bottom, according to this sort score. And this sort score sorts them in order of most like a computer to least like a computer. So generally, you just look at the top 3 or 4 people on the list, and those are the players that you pay more attention to. They're the ones who you supervise more closely. Right? If you've got 100 players in your tournament, you can't supervise them all. It's just not possible. So who do you supervise? You want to supervise the ones who are most likely to be getting help, right? And then you can, catch them and you can tell them, hey, this is not what you should be doing. So the sort score is the most important thing. This is a tournament from the European Union, the Online Club Cup, and these players are mostly grandmasters. We had 11 players above 2,700 in this tournament. So this is a super strong event, okay? This sort score here very rarely gets above 40, okay? If you're playing an over-the-board tournament, or classical time controls, you'll get up over 40, maybe into the early 40s, like 41, 42, 43. But generally, you want to see scores below 40. And that's a score of 40 is a super GM, right? You've got to be like 2650, 2700 typically to score a score of 40. Between 30 and 40 is GM level. Between 20 and 30 is between 2000 to IM. IMs could score in the early 30s as well. Below 20, so down to 10 would be for kind of club players, 1600 to 2000. And if you've got a score of below 0, then you're pretty safe. Okay, not many people are going to be scoring below 0 and getting assistance. And to be honest, if they are, they're not doing a very good job of cheating. So you kind of may as well let them. All right, so it gives you some information about the move match, the centi-pawn loss, these sort of statistics that people may be familiar with, and we can go into that in a lot more detail in a fair play report. You can click on any player's name and you can see all of the games, and you can see the individual round by round scores. So you can see on any one game, you can get a very high score. 71 sort score on is in one single game, right? But in general, you're going to find that the score is kind of in that range of below 40. I'll show you an example of an example where you can see very easily somebody who's had some assistance. So here's a junior tournament for players rated usually under 1400. So under 1400, you expect players to all be scoring in the negatives. So we have all these people, -8, -10, -16, everyone's negative. And then there's one person who's 37. Okay, so pick the person who cheated. Not too difficult, right? So use this as a comparison amongst the players. So if all of your players, who who are 1200 are scoring -8, -10, then you've got one player who is 800 rating. Why are they scoring 37 when everyone else is scoring negative, right? There is something a little bit fishy going on here. Okay, and so you would identify that after even 3 games. Okay, so if we just look at 3 games, all right, you'll see that there are a few players above 0, which is a bit suspicious, right? And that's normal. You can get much broader variations in small number of moves. So before you've played 100 moves, it's very hard to make any sort of judgments at all, right? The more moves you've played, the longer the tournament's been going for, the easier it is to make some sort of assessment. But even after 3 games, you've got a few people who are above 0, which you don't really want to see people above 0 in this sort of tournament. But I've got one person who's on 56, right? Which is like Magnus Carlsen's never scored a 56, right? So, okay, it's only 35 moves. It's only a very small number of moves, but it flags this person to you. So you now put that person under closer supervision. You talk to his parents, you have a conversation, and hopefully in the rest of the tournament, his scores go back to normal, okay? If they don't, if you get a 37 when everyone else is in the negatives, then you've got some concerns, and you can take whatever action that you think is appropriate in that case. So this is the fair play process. We have some features which we're still working on, which is available to our admins, but not to you at the moment, which is a smart cheating mode. So you can see in this example, somebody scored a 9, 1300 with a score of 9. It's maybe a little high, but kind of believable. But when we turn on the smart cheating, we can see that the score increases significantly, right? And so these results, combined with some behavioral observations where people looked a little bit suspicious in this case, led to the disqualification of this player. Okay, so we have some other things that we're working on in the background, some visualizations. Like this is another example. Here's all the normal people in the tournament, and here's a couple of people who probably had some assistance in their games. Way out here near Stockfish. This is Stockfish here, and this is some world champions. So Capablanca, Kasparov, and Carlsen are these 3 dots here. So yeah, we can do some visualizations during tournaments. This is some of the things that we're working on. All right, so that's as always gone over time, as I always do, but let's throw it open to some questions and see if there's anything that I can dig into a little bit more deeply if people have got some questions. So if there's anything...
Can you review what are all the built-in pairing options?
Yes, built-in pairing options. So we'll go to our pairings program. And in the pairings program, you will see in your settings that we have 3 different pairings engines. So we have round robin. We can only do a single round robin, just one round. We've got Yavafo. Yavafo is the same pairings engine that's used in programs like Swiss Manager. I think of all of the FIDE approved pairings programs, I think 4 of them use Yavafo and 1 of them uses BBP pairings. So we've got Yavafo as the same engine. So what that will mean is Tornelo is not approved by FIDE as a pairings program, but if you use Yavafo, you'll get the same pairings as Swiss Manager. Okay, so same data goes into the same engine, you get the same results at the end. Okay, so you can use Tornelo for over the board hybrid FIDE rated events, whatever you like, because you'll get exactly the same pairings from Tornelo if you use Yavafo. If you're playing a teams battle tournament, and Tornelo only from a teams perspective at the moment only does team battles, we don't have the Olympiad style, then a teams battle format you'd want to use Tornelo algorithm. So the Tornelo pairings algorithm is an approximation of the Dutch Swiss pairings. So it doesn't give you FIDE equivalents like Yavafo will. Yavafo will give you the same pairings as Swiss Manager or any other FIDE approved pairing. Tornelo will give you an approximation of those, but it will ban people from the same team from playing against each other. Okay, so that's the Tornelo algorithm if you wanted to use that one. All right, can you organize free tournaments with your students without the platform fee? Yes, absolutely. So you can organize as many tournaments with as many players as you like anywhere that you want, online games, completely free of charge. The only time Tornelo charges you a fee is if you charge your students a fee through the platform. If you want to run a tournament on Tornelo and charge an entry fee in cash and put it in your pocket, that's fine. Tornelo doesn't charge you a fee for that. So it's completely free to use. Go ahead, set up an organization, set up some tournaments, get some registrations in the system, run as many tournaments as you want. And hopefully at some point you'll use Tornelo to collect your registration fees if you are collecting entry fees. Of course, if you never collect any entry fees because you're a club and you only run free tournaments, that's fantastic. We'd love to support you running your tournaments in the club. Okay. So teams pairings. So we have teams only team battle. So what we do is an individual Swiss, and we ban pairings from players in the same team. So if this was a Sith team and a Jedi team, they could play against each other. But if it's Jedi and Jedi, they wouldn't be allowed to play against each other. So it's a team battle is the style of tournament where it's an individual Swiss tournament. At the end of the tournament, you take the top 4 players to form a team score, and only the top 4. This is all hard coded into Tornelo as a teams tournament. We are working on team pairings for sort of Olympiad style tournaments. And when we bring that out, there'll be a bunch of new features where you'll be able to select the team size. You'll be able to do all sorts of different team pairings tournaments. You'll be able to do stages where you can have qualifying stages and finals. All sorts of different things. But we're a few months away from supporting team Olympiad style team pairings with matches natively in Tornelo. That is, you just click a button and it's done. So at the moment, you can run team battle tournaments on Tornelo, individual Swiss with banned pairings from the same team. And that's the only, and then at the end of the tournament, it sums the top 4 players only. So it will automatically do the top 4. Other questions?
What can arbiter do if a player forgets their password and they can't sign in to play the tournament?
Okay, so an arbiter can't reset a player's password or tell them what their email address is. That's kind of security reasons. So you as the arbiter can always get somebody to play a game when they join the tournament lobby. Okay, so once they're in the tournament lobby, they have to be signed in, right? They can sign in with any email address. They can create a new account if they've come in with it. And this happens a lot where people give you an email address, they sign in with an email address, then they come back, and on the day of the tournament, they're signed in with a different email address. So I'll actually go through the whole process and show you, because this just happens so often. Okay, so a player comes, they come to their tournament. Actually, let's just take the link directly to this tournament. They go directly to the tournament. They say, "Oh, I can't play. Why can't I play my game? Why can't I play my game?" Okay, it tells you here you're spectating. Okay, so if I'm spectating, let's sign in. Okay, let's sign into this tournament. Now this time, I'm going to sign in with a different email address from the one I created at the start, and it'll say, "Hey, I still can't play. Like, it just tells me I'm spectating. Why can't I play the tournament?" Right? Because I've signed in with a different email address from the one I used before. Okay, so as the arbiter, what I'll do is I'll say, "Okay, you're Jiminy Cricket. I know who you are. I can communicate with you. You've signed in. You've just used your work email address instead of your home email address. You don't care. You don't know. Well, you've used whatever. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter what they've done. You just know now that they've signed in, and it says that they're spectating the tournament. They've got they've signed in. So what you're going to do now is you're going to give them an arbiter token. So we're going to click on Jiminy Cricket, and we're going to say make a token. That gives me a number 6798. I share that number with the player. The player types in 6798, and now the player is able to play the tournament. Okay, and you can see now it reloaded and it shows me I'm playing as Jiminy Cricket. Okay, so no problems if the player signs in with the wrong email address. If they haven't signed in, just ask them to reset their password. It sends them an email, they reset their password, they sign in. If they can't remember their email address, just get them to create a whole new account, right? And when they create a new account with their new email address, because maybe they put a typo in the last email address, or they've forgotten they used their grandmother's email address instead of their do not disturb email address, or whatever it was. You know, people have got dozens of email addresses each. They just sign in, you give them the link, you give them the arbiter token, and now they can play their games, right? So I'm now signed in as that player. Okay, so you just give them that arbiter token, and then they can play. Do that privately, because when you give it to them privately, if you give it to them publicly, anybody could type in that token, and then they're playing as that player. Okay, so using Swiss Manager. So yep, Eugenia has given you a link. So when you're using Swiss Manager, you will let's go back as the arbiter. You'll import your pairings as a PGN file. When you import the pairings, it will just set up the pairings for you, and then actually it'll set them up in the pairings program. You go to the pairings program, they'll be set up in draft mode, and then you just turn them to live. And so what it does is it matches the player name. So you need to have exactly the same name. But yeah, we've got a help file there. Any other questions? Anything else that you'd like me to dig into? We've got maybe 5 more minutes.
How can the arbiter update the title of a player?
So at the moment, titles, you have to import a CSV file. And when you import the CSV file, in that CSV file, you'll have a FIDE ID, you'll have a title, and you'll have a federation. So then you'll get the flags and the titles and the FIDE rating for players. So we are working actually right now at the moment on something that will look a bit like this, where when you edit the player's details, you'll see their name and year of birth and gender, but you'll also have any external profiles. So you'll have their FIDE ID, their federation, their title, and their rating. So you'll be able to edit that from the tournament. At the moment, you've got to import a CSV file, and when you import the CSV file, then you'll be able to update people's FIDE IDs and therefore other information. But yeah, soon you'll be able to do that just on the page. Juan has asked about training courses and certificates. We have a certificate program or certification program called the Tornelo Certified Arbiter program. So we have in that program 3 levels of certification. We've got a level 3, which is our gold stars. You've got level 2, which is your silver stars. And we've got level 1, which is a bronze star. There's like a chain of trust, is what we call it. Each level of certification gives arbiters greater privileges within the Tornelo ecosystem in terms of verifying players, verifying organizations. The first level, level 1 certification course, we've got coming up in about 2 weeks' time. I think it was the 17th of May. Level 1 certification will give you obviously deeper insight into how Tornelo works and training. It will also give you that level 1 certification badge, which you'll be able to display on your Tornelo tournaments as well. And it will give you the permission to run your own training programs for people that you would then call Tornelo arbiters. These are not certified arbiters, they are just Tornelo arbiters, but you could then run training courses for a fee if you wanted to. We don't take any fees for that. You can just start training other arbiters as well. So we have one person in France and one in England who are running Tornelo arbiter training, and they're charging a couple of €100 to do a course, and they're training people how to use Tornelo. So in order to do that and then to award that Tornelo arbiter badge, you must be a certified arbiter. And as I said, there's a level 1, level 2, and level 3 certification course. There is a fee for doing the course. And as I said, the next one will be in about 2 weeks' time. And so, yes, you'll have the ability to get certified by Tornelo, and then go out there and train other people as well. If you at some point progress to level 2, then you'll be able to train and certify level 1 arbiters. And if you're at level 3, obviously you'll be able to train and certify level 2 and so forth. So there is a progression as we go. Any other questions? Wow, great. So if you have any more questions later on, we have lots of places to get help. Okay, so we have a WhatsApp community forum. We've got an active community of about 100 and something arbiters on that forum, and they answer each other's questions. Okay, Yerzhina answers a lot of questions. I answer a lot of questions as well, but arbiters help each other out in that community forum. So it's a particularly good place to go if you're running a tournament live and you have some issue while the tournament's in progress. You're like, how do I do this thing? I've got something going on. You can just post a message there, and usually someone responds pretty instantly in that group. I've showed you the Start Here page on Tornelo's website, where you've got videos, user manuals, help files, all sorts of things. And of course, you can also, if you need to, schedule a demo with me, and I can give you a bit more details. So that's okay. That's what we've got in terms of help files. So feel free to jump on the website, check out those help files. And the best way to learn is just to go out there and use it. So schedule a tournament, run a practice tournament with 12 people. Once you've done that, run a practice tournament with 30 people. Once you've done that, run a practice tournament with 2,000 people. So let me know if you're going to do a tournament with more than 2,000 people, so we can make sure that all the resources are there for you. All right. Okay. Any final questions before we wrap up for the evening, or for me, the morning?
Not a question, David. Just want to say thank you.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure. Always happy to do these things, and feel free to come and join us for some other webinars. We've got, like I said, interesting ones, fair play, privacy, business of chess, and entry fees, and dealing with the financials. We've got we've got the Arbiter certification program as well. So if you wanted to learn a bit more about the details of of how to really get in depth with Tornelo. All right, and Hamid, I'd love to hear more about the zonal tournament. Give me some feedback over the next couple of days. Just send me an email and let me know. We can jump on a Zoom meeting and I can get some feedback. Tornelo is always improving. We're always changing. We release features every week. Well, not every week necessarily. Sometimes we go a couple of weeks without features, but we're changing things that you might not see every single week. So we're always looking for feedback from arbiters. How can we make it easier and better for you? Because our long-term goal is to make every tournament in the world a better tournament. Be that online, hybrid, or over the board. Using the same software. So yeah, that's what we're out there to try and help you run the tournaments better and more efficiently, make it more enjoyable for you, and make your jobs easier. So please do let us know what ideas and features you can think of.
David, I just attended a FIDE seminar.
Ah, yes.
Hybrid and online events. I just finished that, and then I came to yours. Okay, there were a lot of questions like this. I don't want to ask any questions for the time being because I'm not so efficient with Tornelo. I have to use it, and then the questions will arise. I will come back.
Absolutely. Best way to do it is go out there and use it. Click some buttons. You can't break anything.
All right. Okay.
Have fun with it. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone, and good night. We will see you all in the next webinar in a couple of weeks' time.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you very much.